parents ignored me my whole life because of my brother's needs. When he went into respite care, they suddenly tried to bond with me. But now that he's coming home, I realize I was never really their child. I don't even know how to start this without sounding bitter, but maybe bitterness is the right word. I'm 17M, the oldest kid in my family. My younger brother, 16M, has always been the center of my parents' universe. Not because he's spoiled or the golden child in a typical sense, but because he has significant care needs. For as long as I can remember, my parents' lives have revolved around him. His therapies, his doctor appointments, his meltdowns, his routines. Everything. And me? I learned pretty young that I was background noise. When I was maybe 4 or 5, I can still remember running into the kitchen with a drawing I'd made in preschool. I was so proud. It was messy, with stick figures that didn't make sense, but I had drawn me and my mom and dad holding hands. I held it up, hoping for even a second of their attention. Instead, I got snapped at. Not now? Don't you see we're busy? God, stop shoving things in our faces all the time. I don't even think they remember that moment, but I do, because it repeated itself 100 times in 100 different ways. Sometimes it was yelling. Sometimes it was cussing. Sometimes it was just silence. Me standing there, craving acknowledgement, and them too wrapped up in my brother's latest crisis to notice I was even in the room. So I adapted. I learned not to ask for help with homework because it would end with them sighing and saying, "Do it yourself. You're smart, figure it out." I learned not to expect them at school events, because if they did show up, they'd be distracted or irritated. I learned to keep my achievements to myself, because sharing them only seemed to annoy them. I basically raised myself. And the thing about raising yourself is that it forces you to grow up fast, but it also leaves this weird hollow space inside you, the kind where love and validation were supposed to go. Now, for the first time in forever, my brother is in respite care. He's gone for a couple of weeks so my parents can recharge. And suddenly, without him around, it's like they've noticed I exist. At first, I didn't even know how to react. My mom tried cooking dinner for us. She said she made my favorites. Except what she served was loaded with mushrooms. I hate mushrooms. I've always hated mushrooms. It's not some little secret. I've been refusing mushrooms since I was old enough to pick food off my plate. And yet, here she was, smiling like she'd done something special for me, saying, "See, I remembered you like this." No, you didn't remember. You never even knew. It hit me like a truck in that moment. These people don't know me. They don't know the basics. They don't know what I like, what I hate, who my friends are, how I'm doing in school. They never bothered to learn. So I snapped. I told them straight up, "You don't know the first thing about me. Stop pretending this is some kind of family bonding." Of course, they got defensive. They said it wasn't fair, that they were trying. But where were they when I was 7, crying myself to sleep because no one cared to hear about my day? Where were they when I was 10 and begged them to come to my soccer game, only for them to cancel last minute because my brother had a bad day? Where were they when I was 13 and needed help figuring out high school class schedules, and they just waved me off? Trying now doesn't erase years of neglect. It doesn't undo the fact that my default childhood memory is being yelled at for daring to need them. I told them as much. And instead of owning up to it, they fell back on their usual excuse. "You don't understand how hard our lives are. You don't know what we go through." Yeah, I do know. I've been living in this house too. I've seen the stress. I've seen the meltdowns. I've seen the endless cycle of doctors and therapies. I get that it's hard. But does that make it okay to cuss at a little kid for needing attention? Does it make it okay to emotionally abandon me? I walked away before it could turn into a screaming match. But the bitterness stuck with me. The next day, they tried again. "We're just sitting here talking. Why don't you join us?" they said, all fake cheerful. I ignored them. The day after that, they tried to push a family drive. Like piling into a car together was going to magically erase 12 years of neglect. I told them to stop, that it was a waste of energy, that they couldn't just paper over everything with these half-hearted attempts at bonding. And their answer? More excuses. More "you don't know how hard it's been." More "we're trying now." Here's the thing, it's too late. My brother's going to come home soon anyway, and the second he does, I'll go back to being invisible. I know it. They know it. This is temporary guilt, not some genuine epiphany. I stopped wasting my words on them after that. Ignoring them is easier than fighting. I've been ignored my whole life. I guess I finally learned how to return the favor. The day after the mushroom incident, I made a decision. I wasn't going to engage with them anymore. If they wanted to play happy family while my brother was in respite, they could do it without me. So when my mom called me into the living room the next night, saying, "We're just sitting and talking, come join us," I ignored her. I shut my bedroom door and put my headphones on. For the first time, the silence between us was on my terms, not theirs. But ignoring them didn't stop them. It just made them push harder. The next morning, they told me they wanted to go for a drive together. Like a family road trip was going to erase 17 years of neglect. I told them flat out, stop. Stop pretending. Stop acting like this is about me. Stop trying to buy my forgiveness with small talk and car rides. I told them they weren't making up for anything. That their sudden effort wasn't a fix, it was a joke. I said, "You don't get to excuse how you treated me just because you're finally bored without my brother around." That one hit them. My mom's face went stiff, and my dad clenched his jaw like he was ready to blow. Then came the same tired speech I've heard my whole life. "You don't know how hard we've had it. You don't understand what it's like to raise your brother. You can't hold that against us because we were under so much stress." I almost laughed in their faces. Because that's the thing, they think stress is an excuse. They think years of screaming at me, pushing me aside, telling me I was too much, too needy, too loud, too anything. They think all of that can just be washed away because they had it rough. So I asked them, "Do you even know me? Do you know what classes I'm taking right now? Do you know who my teachers are? Do you even know how I'm doing in school?" Silence. They tried to cover it by saying, "That's why we're trying now. We want to know." Then they asked me to help them set up the school's parent portal so they could check my grades and stay involved. I laughed. I actually laughed. Because they never cared to do that before. Never once. Report cards came and went, and if I didn't put it in front of their faces, they never asked. And now, after years of not giving a damn, they want me to hold their hands and show them how to pretend like they care? I told them no. And then I told them the truth. That it's easier to ignore them than it is to open my mouth and risk being screamed at again. Because that's what it's always been. Me opening up, them tearing me down. And they don't get it. They'll never get it. The thing is, my parents act like all of this just started yesterday. Like the only issue here is that I'm being unfair by not accepting their sudden kindness. But this isn't about one awkward dinner or one fake family drive. This is about years. 17 years. I remember being 4 years old and wanting my mom's attention. I'd tug at her sleeve, or I'd bring her a picture I drew in preschool, and instead of encouragement or a smile, I'd get, "Not now. Go away. Stop bothering me." If I pushed a little harder, if I really wanted her to see me, I'd get snapped at, sometimes yelled at, and it didn't stop there. By the time I was 7, the yelling had become routine. I'd come home from school excited about something, a project, a book, a grade. And if my brother was having a meltdown or if they were stressed about his care, they'd unload all of it on me. They'd cuss. They'd tell me I was too loud, too annoying, that I should just shut the hell up. Imagine being a kid, hearing that from the people who are supposed to make you feel safe. By 10, I had learned. I learned that opening my mouth was dangerous. That if I wanted attention, the only thing I'd get was anger. So I stopped asking. I stopped trying to show them who I was. From 10 to about 14, it was constant. I'd make a mistake, leave a dish out, forget something small, and it was like I had ruined their entire lives. The swearing, the shouting, the way their faces twisted like I was the biggest burden they'd ever carried. And here's the thing, it never really ended. It slowed down once I got older, but only because I stopped giving them opportunities. I stopped seeking their approval. I stopped letting myself hope. Because every time I hoped, I got crushed. Now they want to tell me they're trying? Now they want to say they want to get to know me. They had 17 years. 17 years where they chose to scream instead of listen, to curse instead of comfort, to push me away instead of pull me in. And now they want me to act like none of that happened? No, absolutely not. I told them as much. I told them the yelling, the cussing, the rejection, it wasn't something I could just erase. It wasn't something they could patch over with one home-cooked meal or a fake family outing. It scarred me. It shaped me. It turned me into someone who learned, at way too young an age, that I was on my own. And no amount of trying now is going to undo that. It didn't take long for their effort to fizzle out. At first, when my brother was in respite care, they were hovering, always trying to talk, always trying to make me sit at the table or go for a drive. It was exhausting, but at least they were consistent. Now, though, it's like they're already checking out. They know my brother's coming home soon, and it's almost like they don't see the point in trying anymore. The fake family dinners aren't happening. The casual conversations have stopped. Mom isn't pretending to know my favorite food anymore. I'm fading back into the background, just like always. And the wild part? I'm not even surprised. That's the sickest thing about all of this. For years, I begged for their attention. I craved it. I needed them to see me, to love me, to just notice I was there. Now, I don't even want it. When they were trying to connect, I didn't feel warmth. I didn't feel loved. I felt trapped, like they were trying to force me into a picture-perfect family photo that doesn't exist. Like they wanted me to play along so they could feel better about themselves. And now that they've stopped trying, all I feel is relief. Because at least I don't have to sit at a table pretending that mushrooms are my favorite food. At least I don't have to swallow down the bitterness of their sudden, shallow interest in my life. I know exactly what's going to happen when my brother comes home. They'll go right back to ignoring me, to snapping at me if I dare get in the way. And maybe a part of me should be angry about that, but I'm not. I'm tired. Tired of the games. Tired of the guilt trips. Tired of waiting for parents who were never really mine. So no, I'm not going to fight for their attention anymore. I'm not going to beg for a seat at a table that was never set for me. If they want to keep pushing me into the shadows, fine. I've already learned how to survive there. The closer it gets to my brother's return, the clearer things become. My parents have already checked out again. They're just waiting for him to come home so they can slip back into the only role they've ever known. Caretakers for him and nothing else. And I know exactly where that leaves me. Invisible. I used to think I'd fight forever for a place in their lives. That if I just said the right thing, did the right thing, or proved myself enough, they'd finally notice me. But that fight has drained me dry. I'm done. I'm 17, almost 18, and I've already been raising myself for years. I know how to cook for myself. I know how to keep my grades up without anyone checking the parent portal. I know how to survive the yelling, the silence, and the loneliness. And if I can survive that, then I can survive leaving. Because here's the truth. I don't want to spend the rest of my life begging people to love me. I don't want to spend the next 10 years sitting across from parents who only look at me when their real responsibility is out of the room. I want better. I want to build a future where family means something. Where we love isn't just about mushrooms on a plate. Where conversations aren't fake or forced, but real. And maybe I'll never get that from them, but I can create it for myself. So that's my plan. Finish school. Go to college. Work hard. Get out. And build something of my own. Because if they don't want me at their table, fine. I'll build my own table. And I'll make damn sure everyone sitting there feels seen, heard, and loved. And that's the story. If you've made it this far, thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. Until next time.